Okay, now we have to discuss about the fundamental analysis. We have already discussed about the economy analysis. Then the next analysis, industry analysis. Second analysis, industry analysis. And third analysis, company analysis. Then we have to discuss about industry analysis. What is industry analysis? Industry analysis means analysis of the industry. If you want to if you want to share a particular company, first of all, you have to understand the type of industry. First of all, you have to understand the type of industry to which your company is related with. You have to understand the various dimensions of your industry. You have to understand the various characteristics, features, or aspect of the industry. You have to understand certain factors related with the industry. By analyzing those factors which are related with the industry is known as industry analysis. Then, what are the important factors you have to be considered? First of all, product or services. The success or failure of each and every company depends upon the product or service offered by the company. Then, first of all, you have to understand whether the industry is a product offered industry or a service offered industry. If the industry is a product offered industry, what are the main product offered by it? If the industry is a product offered industry, what are secondary product offered by it? If the industry is a services providing industry, what are the important services offered by industry? You have to research about it. You have to understand all those details. In very detail, you have to understand all details about the product and services. A detailed collection of data and analysis, interpretation of data is very necessary to understand the different aspects or dimensions of the product or services offered by the industry. Then second important factor is estimating growth. You have to estimate the future growth of the industry. You have to estimate the future growth rate of the industry. And you have to compare the growth rate of your industry with the growth rate of GDP. If the growth rate of the industry is equal or more than the expected growth rate of GDP, then you are okay. Otherwise, you will be in trouble. If the growth rate of your industry falls below the expected growth rate of the GDP, then please discard your ideas. Please avoid your ideas. Otherwise, you will be in trouble. Besides, you have to understand the inflation rate which is prevailing in the economy, and you have to compare industry's price index with the overall rate of inflation which is prevailing in the economy. Okay. Then the third important one is the industry life cycle. Each and every product will pass through a life cycle. Likewise, each and every company will pass through a life cycle. Likewise, each and every industry will pass through a life cycle. The industry life cycle means the stages in the industry life cycles are introduction, growth, maturity, decline, abandonment. You have to understand the exact stage of your industry. Sometimes it will be in the growth stage. Sometimes it will be in the maturity stage. Sometimes it will be in the decline stage. Sometimes it will be in the abandonment stage. You have to understand the exact life stage of industry. For example, steel industry is in the maturity stage in our country. Some industries have longer life cycle and some industries have shorter life cycle. You have to understand all dimensions about the industry life cycle. Then raw material and other input. Manufacturing process, success of manufacturing process will depend upon the raw material and other input. You have to understand the availability of raw material and other input for manufacturing production. You have to discuss about the availability of raw material. You have to inquire about the supplies of raw material. You have to understand whether there is a regular supply of raw material. You have to understand what are the raw material needed for the manufacturing process. You have to understand what are the government policies related with the raw material and other inputs. You have to understand the percentage of material cost on total cost of production. You have to understand all about it. Then competitive process. Competition is one of the important factors which determines success or failures of each and every industry. There are so many competitive forces related with a company or an industry. What are the competitive forces? Michael Portal, in his book Commutative Strategy, Techniques for Analyzing Industry and Commutators, describe the 5 basic competitive forces that determine the attractiveness of an industry. You have to understand those 5 forces. What are those 5 forces? First is ease of entry for new competitors. Second, the degree of competition between existing firms. Third, the potential for pressure from substitute product. And fourth, the extent to which buyers of the product or services can put pressure on the company to lower prices. Fifth, the extent to which suppliers of the material or input can put pressure on the company to pay more for these sources. Then cyclical industries. Certain industries are cyclic industries, or certain industries are defense industries. What is meant by cyclic industries? Cyclic industries are those industries which react positively to the changes in the global economy at the rate of 100%. 100% reaction will be exhibited by cyclic industries to the changes in the global economy. But defensive industries have relatively stable return of equity. Defensive industry do not respond to the changes in global economy at the rate of 100%. They are known as blue chip companies. They are known as blue chip. The term blue chip denotes shares of top investment quality companies which maintain earnings and dividends through good times and bad times. That means the defensive industries are safe. Defensive industries are safe. Even if there is a bad time in the global economy, even if there is a bad time in the economy, the blue chip companies or defensive companies will give you a stable return. But your industry is a cyclical one and the conditions are very bad in the economy, then your investment will not give you stable return. Therefore, you have to understand the nature of your industry, whether it is a cyclical one or a defensive one. The next is speculative industry. All industries are speculative, okay, but certain industries are more speculative. If your industry is a speculative industry, there is more risk element. There is more risk element than the normal type of industries. Therefore, you have to understand the speculative characteristic of your industry. If your industry is a speculative one, risk element is more than normal industry. Then capacity utilization. If the demand of product or service of your industry is so good, then your company can produce at its maximum capacity. Then the company can achieve maximum capacity. Okay. The natural demand. Natural demand is very important. Natural demand is one of the important factors which affect success or failure of each and every industry. Therefore, you should understand the natural demand. Possibility of an industry cannot be estimated accurately if the demand is a fluctuating in nature. Then government policy is one of the another important factor which affect the possibility of industry. The government policy, you have to understand the government policy. Whether it is a capitalist one, whether it is a socialist one, you have to understand the nature of government. Certain governments follows capitalist idea. Certain government follows socialist ideas. Certain government follows cooperative ideas. Certain government follows communist ideas. You have to understand the nature of government, and you can predict the government policies. You can predict the government policies. Direct taxation, indirect taxation, fiscal policy, monetary policy are the important measures related with the economy. All those policies are related with the government and its nature. If the government is a capitalist one, its policies will be promoting capitalist ideas. Therefore, you have to understand the natural government and you can predict the government policy. Okay, then industrial relation. Industrial relation means the employee-employer relation. You have to understand the exact nature of industrial relation prevalent in the industry. If the industrial relations are not so good in your industry, then you should not invest shares of those industries. Please avoid those type of industries. Otherwise, your money will lose. You will be in a big trouble. All those factors are to be analyzed. That type of analysis known as industry analysis. Okay, thank you.